Hello, hello, sweet honeybees. Welcome to the Electric Honey Pot, where energy is the nectar of life. My name is Autumn, and in this hive, we are firm believers that you get back the type of energy that you give out to the world. I wrote the outline for today's episode a couple of weeks ago while I was in my peer support class, but I just never got around to recording it because the timing just didn't feel right for releasing it. With the state of everything that is going on in the world and within the United States, I figured now would be the best time to release this episode, especially seeing as how I need a little extra time to work on the episode that I originally had planned for this week, where I dive a little bit deeper into the systemic problems that are allowing the exploitation of children within our country. In the meantime, I want to talk about the greatness of our current president, Donald J. Trump. Yes, you read the title of this episode correctly. And no, it is not clickbait, because I mean exactly what I said when I said Trump is doing a good job. Some of you have probably already jumped to some kind of assumption or conclusion about what kind of a person I am or what I mean by that statement before you ever even hear me out. You think you know what my entire thought process is like based on one statement before you've even given me the chance to express myself and explain exactly what I mean by that. This is a behavior that underlines the division that we are seeing within our country and within the world. It's something called cognitive bias. Now, we are all guilty of cognitive bias to some degree because it is our brain's way of quickly processing information and making decisions with the least amount of effort possible. Way back in the times when we were hunter and gatherers, this would have been a vital survival mechanism for us as we faced predators. In modern day, however, we're overstimulated and overwhelmed with the amount of information that is always flowing in. So we jump to conclusions which often lead to us having extreme responses based on very little information or understanding. What once helped keep us alive in nature has become a risk to our survival as a species in our modern world full of technological advances. Cognitive bias relates to our memory and our attention spans. It is heavily influenced by our backgrounds, our environments, our cultures, and our belief systems. This means things like trauma, religion, politics, social pressure, and media influence play a big part in the conclusions that we make and the way that we interact with the world around us. To make this even simpler for you to understand, our fast-paced world is making us more impulsive and reckless. We are making choices without first understanding all of our options. We aren't slowing down enough to think about how our actions have consequences and how those consequences may be impacting ourselves or the world around us. We have traded our humanity for selfish convenience. Our world has a listening problem. Everyone wants to talk over each other and dominate one another, rather than sharing, exploring, and attempting to understand perspectives that aren't our own, or at least learning how to respect other perspectives without attempting to control another human being. Look at where that line of thinking has gotten us. Now, I am not saying that we should tolerate perspectives that promote hatred and division amongst human beings. My question is, how do we expect to change someone's perspective without first taking the time to listen and understand how they even came to that perspective to begin with? If there is anything that I have learned along my own journey of expanding my perspectives and reprogramming my brain, is that you can't force anyone to change. People that feel like their autonomy is being threatened double down in their defensiveness of their perspectives. Oftentimes, they even become offensive, which is something that leads to the wars that we're seeing today. We need a different approach. Don't worry, this episode isn't just me pulling some social psychology experiment or even me trying to pull a gotcha moment. If you're still here, I applaud you because you give me hope. The ability to listen and to want to understand another human being's perspective seems to be a rare gift in today's world. You help me have faith that people generally want to do good by others and be good in this world. You help me feel less alone in this world of madness, and I am so very grateful that you exist. I want to give credit where credit is due, and not just to you, which is the entire reason why I am recording this episode to begin with. How is Trump doing a good job, you ask? Well, let me tell you. As the U.S. is being led into an even bigger dumpster fire under his lead, the fires that are raging all around us are finally highlighting all of the problems within our systems and within our society that we have been ignoring for far too long. Even the cultists are starting to open their eyes, and that's really saying something. I'm sure you've heard the analogy of a frog sitting in a pot of water that is being brought up to a boil, and the frog doesn't realize that it's in danger until it's already too late to save itself. It is true that the water we are sitting in is currently at a boil, but from my perspective, hope still exists as long as there is life. We're still here, aren't we? Take a deep breath. Remember that we're still breathing. There still lives hope within us. Isn't the darkness where the light shines the brightest? Trump has been so reckless in all of his actions and the words that he speaks that I am seeing more people speaking up than ever before. The cuts and changes to Medicare are showing us exactly how harmful privatized for-profit healthcare is for the people, especially the most vulnerable amongst us. The destruction of the East Wing to allegedly build a ballroom, which I doubt that's the intention anyway, is showing us just how little the people in charge care about history. Those that do not learn from the past are doomed to repeat it. On the other hand, those of us that do learn from the past carry the burden of trying to teach because we're all in this together, for better or for worse. It's not only giving Marie Antoinette, but 1930s Germany as the economy spirals into the Great Depression 2.0, and we're all living through the collapse of modern-day Rome. The internet and Hollywood are the modern-day Colosseum, keeping us distracted from our suffering. We obsess over fictional characters and over-exaggerated reality personas that have more fulfilling lives than we do as individuals. The most popular content is short form and feeds mindless consumerism. I'm not even sure if anyone is listening to me now. Please let me know down in the comments below if you stand with me. It's all avoidance and desensitization by design to make us feel powerless. The truth is, we have more power than they have made us believe. All we have to do is unite. The lack of proper training of ICE is highlighting the police brutality and excessive use of force, which people of color have been sounding the alarm on these issues for centuries now, but the Caucasian population hasn't exactly cared because it hasn't directly impacted them on a widespread scale. They look away and say, "Not my problem. I mind my own business. Well, it's all of our business now, because when abuse of power goes unchecked, it spreads like a disease. This is just the nature of power structures and hierarchy. Most human beings are susceptible to corruption when things like authority, money, sex, and fame are involved. The complete disregard for human life that our government has shown has been inspiring communities of citizens to come together and care about what other people are going through in larger ways than I've noticed in a really long time. This complete disregard for human life has always been there. It's just been lurking in the shadows. Thanks to Trump, we can finally see it for what it is. It's no longer hidden in the shadows. It's out in the open, so we can finally confront it. The Epstein cover-up and lack of accountability is revealing how there has always been different rules for the parasitic elitist class than for average everyday citizens. As more information surfaces, people are starting to realize just how deeply their sick desires have been ingrained into and helped shape our culture here in the US. It had to be this way to fuel their supply. Traumatized children grow up to be unhealthy adults. Unhealthy adults consume more, and they feed the for-profit industrial prison complex. This is something that I will be covering in more depth in my next episode. The government's open, blatant lies in the age of no privacy is revealing decades worth of lies, cover-ups, conspiracies, propaganda, and psyops that have been carried out against the American people. When I wrote the outline for this episode, we were still only in the preparation of attacking Iran. Now we are in full-fledged conflict. Our government is currently lying about the number of casualties, the extent of the damage, and is showing absolutely no concern for American life, Iranian life, or human life in general. The vast majority of Americans do not want this war, but Trump is doing it anyway. Rather than be an adult and come clean about his lies and mistakes and face accountability for his choices and his actions, he is pretty much saying that if I'm going down, you're going down with me. And this is the same for other politicians, our systems as a whole. Israel, it's the same thing for the people that still support him and are calling this some kind of holy war. People claiming to be chosen by God and claiming that their beliefs are the only right beliefs out of all of the belief systems in the world, yet they are using God's name in vain to commit atrocities against humanity. And the ego of these people to think that they can really force the hands of the divine. I really could go on, but I encourage you to reflect yourself and work towards expanding your own perspectives on the situation. Think deeper about the possible implications of everything that is happening right now. And I'm not just saying to think about the evil of it all, but to think about the righteousness that is being birthed from this hell on earth. Yes, it is chaos. Yes, it is messy, it is sick, it is painful. Yes, we live in a dark world right now, but to make the world a better place, we have to illuminate what is done in the darkness. This is exactly what Trump is good at. In this way, he's doing a really good job. He is a reflection of all of the bullshit that we have been sweeping under the rug as a society while pretending like our home is spotless. We've been treating the lives of other human beings across the globe and even right here at home as if we're in a real-life game of Monopoly. We've been so caught up with wanting to win that we have failed to recognize that we've been setting ourselves up for failure this whole time. This isn't a game. This is about the survival or destruction of the human species. If you've made it this far, you now understand that I don't agree with Trump. I don't think that he's a good person or he's a fit leader. I do, however, perceive him as being the person that is ripping off the Band-Aid that has been placed over a gigantic, gaping, festering wound that desperately needs our attention if we want to survive and eventually thrive as a species. What we're living right now isn't thriving. We're barely surviving. Most of us have lives that I would hardly even call living. When do we stop telling ourselves that this is just the way things are and change the narrative of the story that has been written for us? Fighting each other over things such as sex, race, religion, political affiliation, or borders has not gotten us anywhere good. Doubling down on that kind of mentality clearly is not the answer, as all it is doing is exacerbating the problems. Is this really the world that we want to be living in, where we're just fighting and hating each other all the time? Seriously? Maybe it's time to try something new. Maybe it's time to value human life over things such as sex, money, possessions, religion, resources, and power. Maybe it's time to finally start seeing ourselves as equals inhabiting a floating rock in space together. Maybe it's time to put humanity first. Maybe we should care about our planet and all of the other beings that are here sharing this world with us that are suffering under our selfishness. We don't have to choose this. We can say no more and stop participating at any time we choose, but it's going to have to take more than just a couple of us being brave. We're going to have to do this as a collective. There's a quote that's often attributed to Albert Einstein, one of the greatest human minds to ever exist. The quote is, "The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again while expecting a different result." The truth is, there's no evidence that he ever said this. It's probable that this quote was actually coined by a person that was going through the recovery process. It seems to have appeared as part of Narcotics Anonymous in the 1980s, several decades after Albert Einstein's death. Maybe it was attributed to Einstein because of how quick our society is to judge, stigmatize, and hate people that we don't understand or that we perceive as being below us for whatever reason that we justify within our minds. The exact same mentality that I highlighted in the very beginning of this episode. People like to think of others as lesser than for walking different paths from their own. That we can't learn from each other or find any kind of common ground despite our differences. That people with painful lived experiences or different backgrounds can't have nuggets of wisdom hidden within them simply because they've made mistakes in their lives. Honestly, some of the most profound things that I have ever heard spoken from another human being have come from those that have experienced deep hardships, such as homelessness, substance abuse, extreme trauma, and mental illness. People that our society unfairly dehumanizes. I took a chaotic, messy, sick, painful, dark journey to get to where I am today. My journey is a reflection of every single thing that I'm witnessing happening within the world. Take it from someone that has spent her entire life being misunderstood and afraid to confront the darkness that was living inside, influenced by the world around me. If we want the world to be a better place, we have to look at the problems and admit that they exist. We have to have hard conversations about them. We have to sit with the pain to figure out exactly what it is that it needs to heal. We have to be uncomfortable to learn how to grow, because growth does not happen in a comfort zone. I try my best to maintain an optimistic perspective that everything that we're experiencing right now are just the growing pains to something better that's happening for humanity. But I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you to make it go down any easier, because as much as I am an idealist, I'm also a truth teller. I have to pull my head out of space sometimes and come back down to earth. The world in its current state is far from perfect and far from ideal. Sometimes the truth is spicy, bitter, sour. It hurts to speak it, but someone has to. At some point, we have to choose our healing collectively, or our pain and neglect will kill us. Maybe all of us. I don't say that because I want to scare you or kill your hope. My intention is that honesty and accountability lights a fire inside of you, inspiring you to be the change that you want to see in the world. It all starts on an individual level. Change starts with you, with me, each of us. You came here with a purpose in this world. Tune out the noise. What is your soul saying? Listen. Let it speak. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to what I have to say. I know the world is a really heavy place right now. I personally have been struggling with a lot of anxiety given everything that's been going on. I haven't really been creating like I was before. I've honestly been feeling pretty defeated, but that's exactly what the darkness of the world wants. It wants us to feel hopeless, and I don't want to give it that. If what I had to say resonated with you at all, please be sure to give this video a like, hit the subscribe button. I would absolutely love to hear from you down in the comments. Tell me what kind of self-care practices you're utilizing to get through the challenging things. What are you doing to make the world a better place, no matter how small it is? I've honestly been picking up strangers on the side of the road and giving them rides places. I know a lot of people would be like, that's dangerous, that's crazy, but I personally feel human connection is worth the risk, because most people are just normal people that need a little bit of help sometimes. And living in fear is exactly why our world is the way it is. And I'm just trying to be the change that I want to see in the world. If you have a story that you would like to tell, I would like to help give you a voice. Please check out my website, electrichoneypotproject.com. I will link it down below in the description box. If you would go to the garden page on my website, you'll learn a little bit more about what I'm trying to do, what I'm creating. You can go to the story page to figure out a little bit more about who I am, as well as why I chose bees and why I chose sunflowers. And if no one has told you today, I know I've already said this in this episode, but I am so grateful that you exist. The world is a better place with you in it, and I love you so much. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful rest of your day, night, week, month, year, and life. Remember to be curious, question everything. Most of all, stay sweet, honeybee. Sting when it counts.